How Americans view Venezuela operation, polls revealed. Not endless war, U.S. Republicans reject long-term occupation, and how Pentagon chief mocks Russia's air defense performance in Venezuela. The latest news next. Pentagon chief Pete Hegseth questioned the effectiveness of Russian air defense systems, which failed to work during a U.S. special operation in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas.
Seems that those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they? Downtown Caracas and grabbed an indicted individual wanted by American justice in support of law enforcement.
The Pentagon chief also added that 3 nights ago, everyone saw how nearly 200 of our best Americans went to the center of Caracas in Venezuela, and according to him, not a single American was killed. What the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry says. Responding to Hegseth's remarks, First Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Serhiy Kislitsa, emphasized that Venezuela had S-300 VM air defense systems, 2 battalion sets of which were supplied to Venezuela by Russia in 2013. In October 2025, Russia transferred an undisclosed number of Panzer air defense missile and gun systems, as well as Buk M2 anti-aircraft missile systems to the country. 1 in 3 Americans approves of U.S. military action in Venezuela, while 72% of respondents are concerned about U.S. interference in the South American country, Reuters reports. A 2-day poll showed that 65% of Republicans support military action, compared to 11% of Democrats and 23% of independents. At the same time, about 43% of Republicans said they agree with the statement the United States should have a policy of dominating affairs in the Western Hemisphere, compared to 19% who disagreed. The rest said they were unsure or did not answer the question. About 60% of Republicans in the Reuters poll say they support sending U.S. troops to Venezuela, compared with 30% of Americans overall. 59% of Republicans say they support the U.S. taking control of Venezuela's oil fields. At the same time, about 54% of Republicans say they were concerned that the U.S. would become too involved in Venezuela's affairs. The same percentage expressed concern about the financial costs, compared to 45% who said they were not concerned. 64% of Republicans are concerned that U.S. intervention will endanger the lives of military personnel in Venezuela. The poll, which surveyed 1,248 American adults nationwide, found that U.S. President Donald Trump's approval rating stands at 42%, the highest since October and up from 39% in December's poll. Representatives of U.S. Republicans say the military operation in Venezuela that led to Nicolas Maduro's overthrow will not turn into an endless war, according to Reuters. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast said the operation to capture Nicolas Maduro was swift and targeted, not a full-scale military invasion. After the classified session with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth on January 5th, House Speaker Mike Johnson also officially refuted rumors of a large-scale U.S. military incursion. Quote, "We do not have U.S. armed forces in Venezuela, and we are not occupying that country," Mike Johnson told reporters. Republicans reject comparisons to the wars in Iraq or Afghanistan, stressing that the goal was to enforce the indictment against Maduro on narco-terrorism charges. The U.S. has no intention of maintaining a true presence for nation building. Control of the oil infrastructure is a temporary measure to restore operations. The administration of U.S. President Donald Trump is working on a draft agreement on Greenland, which may be offered to the Ireland's leadership in the future, according to The Economist. Washington is considering the possibility of concluding a compact of free association. This format of cooperation envisages improving the standard of living of Greenland's inhabitants. The U.S. already has similar agreements with Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, and Palau. The United States provides financial assistance to its partners, who in turn delegate defense issues to the U.S. while retaining internal autonomy. According to The Economist, the Trump administration's strategy towards Greenland has 2 objectives: to exacerbate differences between Denmark and Greenland, and to try to establish direct agreements with local authorities by passing Copenhagen. At the same time, the agency considers the scenario of the island's direct accession to the US to be unrealistic and emphasizes that American statements have caused concern among European leaders. The Economist also points out that there is already a US military base operating in Greenland and that existing agreements with Denmark do not set limits on the number of US troops. However, a significant increase in the contingent would likely require the consent of the Danish side. On January 4th, Donald Trump said that control over Greenland is important for US national security, explaining this by the presence of Russian and Chinese ships near the island. Ukrainian allies will meet in Paris on Tuesday to clarify their contributions to future security guarantees for Kiev in the event of a ceasefire with Russia, Reuters reported. As the publication writes, the agreements are expected to reassure Ukraine and create a basis for further political decisions in the event of a pause in hostilities. More than 27 world leaders will join President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky in the French capital, as well as senior US negotiators Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The meeting is part of broader efforts to form a unified position of Ukraine, Europe and the United States, which could later be presented to the Russian side. Talks accelerate, but progress is limited. According to Reuters, negotiations to end the war, which has lasted nearly 4 years, have intensified significantly since November. Talks accelerate, but progress is limited. According to Reuters, negotiations to end the full-scale invasion, which has lasted nearly 4 years, have intensified significantly since November. At the same time, there are a few signs that Russia is ready to accept the current proposals. The key obstacle to an agreement remains the issue of territories, while fighting between the sides continues. Military commitments to be put in writing. Ahead of the summit, diplomats said that military officials, including the head of Ukrainian's general staff, have arrived in Paris. Their goal is to formalize specific military commitments that previously remained vague. After that, political leaders will be able to provide the necessary backing for these agreements, multinational forces and border guarantees. According to a note sent to 35 invited delegations and seen by Reuters, a key topic of the meeting will be the formation of multinational forces for Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire, in coordination with Kyiv and with US support. In addition, organizers aim to agree on a broader package of security guarantees, including commitments that would take effect in the event of a new attack on Ukraine. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.